And now I juxtapose that against, imagine a lot of people who walk into a clinic or a hospital, and because you're just a number, a statistic, you're given pain medication, and you're told that you're fine, but you're dying. You have a pulmonary embolism or something, because the system did not take time to actually probe further, understand you're just a conveyor belt. And that's the catastrophe of our healthcare system. But I'll let you just dive into that. And then
in African countries, particularly Sub-Saharan Africa, over 70% of healthcare budgets go towards curative care rather than preventative measures. Early screening can reduce healthcare costs by up to 30% and improve patient outcomes.
Yeah.
And then the global adoption of holistic human-centered healthcare models has increased by over 25% in the recent years. So more of the 3.0 is coming up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you have experience with that, and that's where I wanted to go because of that particular statistic. Is, I know we've been talking about some countries policy-wise that have actually moved to more preventive. I was reading about, I think, the case for Rwanda in terms of their model, which is around the community-based health insurance system, which, like you said, it starts with the community. But however, I know you have personal experience in Israel as well. Yeah. What does that look like in terms of, I get it, we're talking about systemic issues in terms of the system is set up in a certain kind of way, because I did not realize how important it is for me to be armed with information about my health, and for me to be able to question a doctor in terms of the kind of care that you're giving me, and me to disagree and say, like, listen, boss, you won't treat me like that.
Yeah.
Like, what's the matter? As in, take some time. You can't just give me X. So what's your worldview on that in terms of, I know there are models that are actually working. So we're not talking about utopia here. It's actually guys who are actually doing that in terms of what we're saying, in terms of what is growing.
What she's talking about. Now, there are always a few facts that I always say we need to have them at the basis of any discussion as regards healthcare. If we're to achieve good outcomes, if there's anything we're going to remember today is outcomes.
I love it, yes.
That anything that we do, let's look at the output, concentrate a lot. It really dictates how the input, will be dictated. So there are a few facts that we have to get. That number one, we can only achieve this if everybody's on board. I can never say that enough. And I always I think COVID is a really vivid example. That at the end of the day, if we all didn't come in one way or the other, this could turn into something else. If you think about a cholera outbreak. So outbreaks are the ones that usually scare us, but this happens on a daily basis. So if we don't think about everybody, then it becomes a problem. That if we pick a few who we give the very best, the system will crumble, whichever way, because we will overload it in terms of, overstretch it in terms of our needs. Number two, that our needs are beyond just not getting disease. When you look at the WHO definition of health, and maybe we're going to look at that so that we just look at it, there's so many aspects of your life that have to come in for us to define that you're healthy. That initially we just used to make sure you're not unwell.